But we start with the latest on the race for the White House. Georgia's controversial state election board making some major changes to voting in the key battleground state. It's a move that Georgia's Republican Secretary of State and many Democrats say could lead to chaos on election night. On the campaign trail Friday, Vice President Kamala Harris followed a celebrity-packed primetime sit-down with Oprah with stops in Georgia and Wisconsin. She's on her reproductive rights campaign, this time targeting male voters.
When Donald Trump was president, he hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court, the Court of Thurgood and RBG, with the intention that they would overturn the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as he intended, they did. And now more than 20 states have Trump abortion bans.
Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump traveled to a fundraiser in Miami on Friday. He'll be in North Carolina at a rally on Saturday amid the scandal involving the Republican candidate for governor and offensive comments that he allegedly made online. We're going to have more on that story in a moment. Earlier, Trump made headlines at an event in Washington that was aimed at denouncing anti-Semitism. On Thursday, Trump said that if he doesn't win, quote, the Jewish people would have a lot to do with a loss, prompting fears that his words might stoke more anti-Semitism among far-right Trump supporters. And all of that comes as early in-person voting gets underway in Virginia, South Dakota, and Minnesota. Let's bring in Weijia Jiang. She's in Madison, Wisconsin with the Harris campaign. Weijia, Harris is ramping up her messaging on reproductive rights with 2 campaign stops, this time focusing on men. Trump has a big lead with male voters. So how much is this issue expected to help her in the final push towards Election Day?
Well, this has been one of her signature issues since even before she rose to the top of the ticket as vice president when Roe v. Wade was first overturned. That's when we really saw her stepping out and taking ownership on the part of the administration. And her goal now, as we heard in your open, is to remind people as often as possible that it was former President Trump who cleared the way to nominate and then, of course, have those 3 Supreme Court justices contribute to the ultimate decision that has changed the law in so many states. And that is precisely why they spent so much time, so much money, so much effort to remind people because, campaign officials say this is not just an issue that impacts women, but it impacts men because we're talking about fathers and brothers and people who are impacted directly also by reproductive freedoms.
Certainly a part of the equation. Trump is also going to be in Wilmington, North Carolina on Saturday, Weijia. As we're discussing this campaign, tell us how important is that state for him?
Well, it's a state that's important to both of the candidates because it is so competitive and it is so close, quite frankly. And this comes at a pretty perilous time for Trump because that state and his party, the Republicans, are dealing with a controversy that I know that you have been reporting on with the Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, who is getting pressure from the party to bow out of the race. So I imagine, Trump will have to answer where he stands on that. He has previously supported Robinson, and so that will be tricky territory for Trump, and precisely why the Harris campaign has already capitalized, launching a brand new ad that shows Trump's former links with Robinson. Lana.
Weijia, let's talk a little bit about Harris and maybe some blowback she might be receiving, because on Thursday in her live stream with Oprah, Harris discussed her gun ownership. I want to play that.
If somebody breaks in my house, they're getting shot. Here's my point, Oprah, is that I'm not trying to take everyone's guns away. I believe in the Second Amendment, but we have to agree that, look, I did last fall a college tour with college-age young people, and I would ask, please raise your hand if at any point between kindergarten and 12th grade you had to endure an active shooter drill. Almost every hand went up. It was bone-chilling. Yeah.
So the back half of that, stuff that we've heard the vice president say before, but the front part of it, she said, if someone breaks in my house, they're getting shot. This might actually be the first time that many voters are learning that Harris is actually a gun owner herself. How are these comments being received by her base? Is there any concern that it could alienate some Democratic voters?
I think the point here, Lana, and she has said this before, although not that often, she did say it during the presidential debate with Donald Trump. The point is that she wants to dispel misconceptions, that this is an all or nothing issue, that this is a red or blue issue, trying to make the case that, you know, she's not actually trying to get rid of your guns, as the Republicans accuse the Democrats of, because as you heard in this interview and as we've heard before, she is a gun owner, and so is her running mate, Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. And so they're trying to make the case that, you know, it's not about gun ownership. It is about the rules surrounding who can own guns and what instances they should be restricted, and all the regulations surrounding gun ownership. And so I think, you know, the entire point is that, you know, it's not just for Republicans here. And so I don't think that they are concerned about alienating Democrats, because, again, most Americans believe that you ought to have the right to own a gun. But, again, it's all the laws surrounding gun ownership where there's a lot of differences.
The idea of common sense. All right. Weijia Jiang out on the campaign trail. Thanks, Weijia.